In June, amid the golden fields, I saw a groundhog lying dead. Dead lay he, my senses shook, and mind outshot our naked frailty. There lowly in the vigorous summer, his form began its senseless change, and made my senses waver dim, seeing nature ferocious in him. Inspecting close maggots, might, and seething cauldron of his being, half with loathing, half with strange love, I poked at him with my angry stick. The fever arose, became a flame, and vigor circumscribed the skies, immense energy in the sun, and through my frame a sunless trembling. My stick had done nor good nor harm. Then stood I silent in the day, watching the object as before, and kept my reverence for knowledge, trying to control, to be still, to quell the passion of the blood, until I bent down on my knees, praying for the joy in the sight of decay. And so I left, and I returned, in autumn strict of eye, to see the sap gone out of the groundhog, and but the bony, sodden hulk remained. But the year had lost its meaning, and in intellect chains I lost both love and loathing, mured up in the wall of wisdom. Another summer took the fields again, massive and burning, full of life. But when I chanced upon the spot, there was only a little hair left, and bones bleaching in the sunlight. Beautiful as architecture, I watched them like a geometer, and cut a walking stick from the birch. It has been there 3 years now. There is no sign of the groundhog. I stood there in this summer whirring, my hand capped with a withered heart, and thought of China and of Greece, of Alexander in his tent, of Montaigne in his tower, and of Saint Teresa in her wild lament. The general outline for the poem is that a child finds a dead groundhog and eventually touches it with a stick. Immediately the sun goes behind a cloud, and he feels so bad that he lets it take its natural course and rot away. The antecedent scenario. Before the poem begins, the groundhog that symbolizes life and rebirth is found dead. Division into parts. There's a tonal shift from when he decided to poke the groundhog from when he then decided to simply observe the body. The climax. I believe the climax is actually in the beginning, and it happens the moment the groundhog dies. That moment is what catapults the story and what the story is based around. Other parts. The poem is divided by how the child deals with the groundhog's corpse. Skeleton. The emotional curve that happens in the groundhog starts out surprised, then turns to curious, and ends with respecting the groundhog's body. Language. The language in this is very descriptive. Tone. The tone that I think this poem expresses are surprise, wonder, patience, and respect towards the groundhog's body, towards the end. Agency and its speech acts. Even though the groundhog is dead, I think that he's the main character, and the poem is about him, but also how the children reacts to him. Roads not taken. I think it would be really interesting if the poem was written from the groundhog's perspective, even though he's dead. His spirit could have been looking down at his body and noticed the kid. I think if they did that, we would have had the thought of the groundhog and could have even had some comedic aspects to the story. The genre is poetry and imagination. What stood out to me was the way that the child poked the groundhog at first, without any disregard. Luckily, he changed throughout the story and understands that letting the groundhog go in peace and dignity is much more civilized.